I don't know.
Yes, so did Peter say that?
Peter said he wanted to, oh, that's right, Peter, should be representing Peter, right? I got it, I'm looking in my brain now, so we do need to. That term, and who else?
Oh, Peter.
Hey,
Yeah, that's all that we see online for now.
I'm sorry?
That's all that we see
Yeah,
online for now.
okay, all right, sounds good. So we have a forum, and I'm trying to see.
Brian's not.
Brian's not
He's
coming,
got a conflict.
yeah, but he assured me you were coming, so we're good. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's. You have to.
It's fine. But they're all seven buildings, but I would just.
So Christie, just so as not to confuse people, would you move your? Oh, okay, sounds good. It mainly not confuse me. All right, with that, I'm gonna call the Thursday, August the 28th Regional Transit Partnership meeting to order. And our first item of business is I would entertain a motion. Do I have to do anything fancy, Christine, about introductions, as long as they say where they're located and their reason for virtual?
Correct.
We have very fancy language that we have to use at the Board of Supervisors when we do this.
We love the fancy one.
We love fancy language. So I'm simply going to say then that I'd like to recognize Jen is here, Jen Flesher. And if we can see Jen, she can tell us where she's located and who she's representing and her reason for virtual.
Hi all, I'm Jen Fleischer here from Blue Ridge Health District and I have COVID, so I am home attending abroad.
All right, and you were here for Peter Thompson.
And I'm also here for Peter Thompson and CAA, yes.
That's exact, that's.
Thank you. Sorry, Diantha, my apologies, yes.
Just to clarify, so that's great, we're sorry you have COVID. I would entertain a motion to invite Jen into the meeting.
So
So moved by Scott and second by Mike. Would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Livingston,
He's not here.
Counselor Ostrom. Yes. Supervisor McKeel.
Yes.
Supervisor Pruitt.
Aye.
Katie Miller. Aye. Randy Parker.
Don't see Randy in.
Nick Filipowski let us know that he had a conflict for today and he would not be here. Scott Silver.
here,
All right, so you are now legal. Welcome. And we don't have anybody else on the screen that we need to accept into the meeting, I don't believe.
Yeah.
So with that, we do have our first order of business, which is introductions. Jen has introduced herself, and I'm going to turn, as I always do, to my left. Mike, would you start the introductions?
Mike Murphy, I'm the CEO of JAUNT.
Okay.
I'm Katie Miller, I'm a program manager at the Department of Rail Transportation.
Welcome, Katie. It's so nice to see you today. Yeah, in person. That's great. It's wonderful. All right.
Jamie Gellner, Albemarle County Public Schools.
Great.
Ann Wall, Albemarle County.
Scott Silsdorf, UVA, Parking and Transportation.
Patrick Clark, UVA Parking and Transportation.
Diantha McKeel, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors.
Mike Pruitt, Board of Supervisors, Albemarle County.
Natalie Ostrom, Charlottesville City Council.
Ben Cambridge, City of Charlottesville.
Christine Jacob, Construction District Division.
Sarah Simba, Regional Planners at PDC.
Taylor Jenkins, TJPDC. And Diantha, I do see now in the attendees section, we do have a few folks. I'm going to. Yes.
So Peter is actually here, or is that Jen?
Yep. Hi, I'm Peter Krebs from the Piedmont Environmental Council. I'm on the road back from Loudoun County. Haven't gotten back yet, but I'll be there soon.
So we need to vote to approve Peter. So Peter, would you just told us you were on the road and you looked at from Loudoun, so you're traveling.
Correct. Yes, I've been in Loudoun County all day. I'm on the road back, but I haven't made it back to the building yet.
So I'll entertain a motion to invite Peter to join the meeting.
So
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a second. Would you like to call the roll for that, please?
Yes. Counselor Oshrin? Yes. Supervisor McKeel?
Yes.
Supervisor Pruitt?
Aye.
Katie Miller? Yes. Randy Parker? Scott Solzberg?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm confused though, because I see Peter Thompson has joined, so Jim, we can only have one person representing, so Peter, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
No,
Peter.
Peter,
Oh.
Peter Thompson, sorry.
Peter Thompson is also here.
All right, so Jim, will you please? How about?
Carol.
Well, she can stay, just we
Yes.
miscommunicated about who was representing CAA today.
There you go. So Peter, would you tell us where you are located and why you're virtual?
I'm at my home in Ivy, and my wife and I only have one car, and she has it, and I have no other way to get back into town.
All right, sounds good. I would entertain a motion to ask Peter to join, Peter Thompson to join officially. So moved and second. So we have a motion and a second. Would you call the roll? Next time we'll have to get this organized and do it as one vote perhaps.
Counselor Oshrin? Yes. Supervisor McKeel?
Yes,
Supervisor Pruitt?
Aye.
Katie Miller? Yes. Scott Solzberg?
Yes.
okay. So this is everybody.
Yes.
I'm looking. And I will say, Christine and I had a discussion about this earlier, and in the past, we have invited into the meeting officially those people that are virtual, only those members that was voting members. A relook at the legislation, the rules. It's a gray area, but it would appear that regardless of whether or not you're voting or non-voting, you need to be invited into the meeting. So that's why today was a little different. And next time we'll have to figure it out ahead of time. So maybe we could just do, people would go through the folks and we could do one motion. We'll figure that out, Christine. Anyway, so that's why the change in the process today. And with that, we have the draft meeting minutes from June the 26th. Anyone have any questions or concerns about the minutes? If not, I will entertain a motion. To approve the, so Mike has made the motion.
Second.
And then Natalie has seconded. To call the roll for this, please.
Counselor Oshrin? Yes. Supervisor McKeel?
Yes,
Supervisor Pruitt?
Aye.
Katie Miller? Yes. Scott Solzberg?
Yes.
all right. And our next item matters from the public. Do we have anyone that signed up to speak?
No one has signed up in person. Would anyone online like to speak?
I'm looking behind me to see if there's anybody that wants to speak. No, okay. All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott and Patrick, our Wahoo commute update.
All right.
We are looking forward to it.
Do you, Taylor, do you need us to stand or is it sitting okay or what's the protocol for us?
Standing would be better for me to hear it on the recording later, for others to hear it on.
The only reason I ask is I'm gonna turn it over to Patrick, but I will start by saying that I've been at UVA now 2 years, and my first RTP meeting was also, Patrick was here, for those of you that can remember 2 years ago, to then talk about the award that he had won from the UVA president's office to launch Wahoo Commute. So it's kind of fitting that 2 years have gone by. We've had a lot of hard work to get the system planned for and up and off the ground. So since October of, I don't want to steal his thunder, but since October of last year, it has been operating and issuing incentives to people. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick to give you all a summary on Wahoo Commute.
And I think the sound is better if people go to the podium, so that's great. All right. Wahoo commute.
All right, well, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, we've come a long way since 2 years ago when this was more just a dream with a little bit of funding to get us started. But yeah, let's dive in. So for those who don't know, Wahoo Commute is a TDM program launched by UVA Department of Transportation. TDM being Transportation Demand Management, are looking at how we can more efficiently, or apply strategies to better use our parking, our transportation network. And I wanted to just highlight a few, like set the stage for what the program is and how we use it to kind of, better get into help you guys understand what we're doing and what we're hoping to accomplish. So the program uses a youth management platform, powered by a company called Loom. And the main feature that Loom offers us, this management platform, is it allows our employees to log their commutes. So basically, how are they getting to work every day? And then based on which modes you select, you earn an incentive associated with that. So qualifying modes that we support are walk, bike, scooter, transit, carpool, and vanpool. The Loom platform also allows us to implement some important integrations from a user experience that really kind of take this platform, this program to the next level in terms of the 21st century and making it easy to use, easy to engage with. And so we have HR integration that pulls all of our employee information into the app, sets up an account for them. So when they first sign up, they can just kind of get started from there. And then we have a payroll integration that very importantly that's how we deliver the incentives to the employees. And this is what allows us to leverage cash incentives to pay people directly for using alternative transportation. And then there is membership. So most employees at UVA can participate in full and part-time staff and faculty across the academic, medical center, and university physicians group. Those that can't, there's a few categories right now: student employees, temp employees, and contingent employees. But our eligible population hovers right around 25, 26, 27,000 total employees can participate. Then we have specific commuting requirements. The big thing being that we do not allow members to have an annual permit to park on campus or on grounds. So parking transportation, we sell permits to park in the various lots. If you want to participate in the program, you can't have the annual version of that. And that's our measure to make sure you're not parking when you claim you're doing something else, you're commuting in a different way. So you can't have a permit, or if you do have one, you have to turn it in as part of joining the program. And that gets us into the purpose or why we're doing this. Parking and transportation, our primary function is to manage the university's parking supply. Right now, we sit about 19,000 total parking spaces. But we have way more, like I just said, 26,000 or so faculty and staff, and another tens of thousands of students. And so we have to find that balance to leverage our parking supply to use it efficiently, but also get people the parking they need. But the problem comes when demand, I have here, surpasses, even before that, when demand encroaches the total supply capacity. We have an issue on our hands as a department. How are we going to address that? We can either increase the parking supply or decrease the demand. On the increased supply side, we are currently underway. The university is building 2 new parking garages you're probably aware of. There's the one at Fontaine, the Medical Research Park, and the one at North Grounds by John Paul Jones Arena. So both of those together will add about 2,300 parking stalls. And so we're attempting to increase the supply, but the university, in terms of growth, we're just not. This isn't going to be a panacea, is what I'm trying to say. Where we're adding more parking, but it would behoove us to still not count on that to take care of all of our parking problems. And so where I come in and Walk and Commute is in an effort to reduce the parking demand. How can we get people to not bring their vehicles to grounds to begin with? And so we are, the program is an effort trying to incentivize a commuting behavior change. leave your single occupancy vehicle at home, take an alternative commute mode, get to work. In terms of timeline, just to give you a brief history, so in 2019, PNT did a parking study where the consultants told us pretty much what we already knew, that we had an impending parking shortfall on our hands. And as part of their recommendations, they did submit have a TDM program. At the time, it's really just centered around carpooling. We would have discounts on permits, but we didn't have a robust program aimed at incentivizing all the different modes of alternative commuting. So they came and said, start a TDM program. Then we had COVID. Everybody was sent home, teleworking took off. Still today, we have a lot of employees that engage in hybrid work schedules so there's still that parking need, but then it's even trickier now to how do we meet their needs, but they're not here every day. But with the return to normalcy, people start coming back to work. We're kind of up against it again in terms of that parking demand. In 2023, as Scott mentioned, me and a colleague with the Office of Sustainability, we submitted an idea for an internal grant that the Office of the President was seeking. They were seeking ideas that would support staff success, centered around making staff's lives easier, better to come to work, and also had a sustainability focus. And so we pitched this idea of Wahoo Commute, then called Commute Club, but this idea that you could get incentives for coming to work just using an alternative mode. And we were one of the winners selected. And so we got a one-time funding of $100,000 to implement the idea. So we kind of took that, brought it back to the department and was like, we have a great opportunity here. We know we need a TDM program. We have this seed money. What is like the biggest thing we can do with this and really make something that would be impactful and meaningful and a difference making for staff and faculty. So with that, undertook getting Wahoo Commute started. October 2023, we selected Loom as our commute management platform among the available vendors. And then a year later, through all the setup, in September of 2024, we launched Wahoo Commute. And so, yeah, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. So it's really exciting to see how far we've come. But yeah, let's get into some the fun stuff, the incentives that we offer employees. There's 3 core incentives. The primary one is what's called the commute bonus. So this is the daily cash incentive that an employee can earn. So you log into the platform, you say, I rode the bus today to work, I rode CAT, then you get $1.50. And the platform tracks that. And then at the end of your payroll period, that is processed and sent to payroll and deposited on your paycheck. And so employees, Monday through Friday, you can log your commute. And so if you do the math, you can earn between $20 and $30 per month if you're consistently using alternative transportation. Then we have the commute raffle. So this is for, so right now we're talking $1, $1.50 per day. That's not going to move the needle for everybody, as there's some higher dollar amount that we can get that would also be engaging for some. So we implemented this raffle idea where your daily commute bonuses that you log count as raffle entries. And so at the end of the month, you will get a number of entries, we draw names, and up to two employees will each win $500 each month.
Quick question about that.
Huh?
Can an employee win 2 months in a row or some kind of restriction on once you win, you're done?
Yeah, so right now it has to be, cannot win, have won in the last 3 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
3 years.
wow.
yeah. And so so it hasn't happened yet, but if I drew someone's name that had already won, I would redraw a different name.
Yeah.
We have a large pool of employees, so just, trying to give equal chance, to have a chance to win the raffle. And then we have the e-bike rebate reward. So with the rise of e-bikes and how beneficial they are at helping people commute, we thought it prudent to help people to earn just a little bit of money to commit that they can put towards their first purchase of an e-bike. And so if an employee logs 100 commutes, 100 of the qualifying commute modes, then they qualify for the rebate. We have some other conditions, meeting certain standards as far as what e-bikes are available for purchase. But that's the essential part. Log 100 commutes, you get $400 towards the e-bike purchase. Oh, and then I have it here. So yeah, the change we made, we had our own set of rules, but we looked at what the city was doing and actually changed our offerings to better align with their voucher program.
And you by that, you mean like what stores?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where the e-bike can be purchased from.
What was it before?
So it was more centered around the safety certifications, but we didn't restrict what retailer you could purchase it from.
So you could get it online.
Yes. So the idea initially was to give you had more options available to you. If you've met certain safety standards. The problem is kind of like where the market is right now. It's actually really challenging to verify that the bike meets a certain safety standards and a certain safety standard as far as like UL certification when it comes to battery electric safety buyers, all that.
At this point, they all know to say that they are UL certified, whether they are or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are manufacturers that will claim that when it's not the case, if you actually go and like look up their company's listing. But we know that as the provider, but the problem is, it's putting too much burden on the employee to try to figure it out on their own. It was creating a lot of headaches, so we thought we reduce the options, but we make it a lot simpler to actually take advantage of the rebate.
And then, because I'm not in the city, I don't, help me understand, so they can purchase these through businesses?
So within the city, our e-bike voucher program, we have an understanding with the local bike shops that they will take those vouchers. So there's 3 bike shops that we work with that serve the local region.
That makes sense, okay, thank you.
The other idea with the bike shops too, which is probably played into the city, is the idea is the customer may not know anything about e-bikes. It's a lot easier to just click and buy something on Amazon, but if you're gonna go to the local retailer, they're probably gonna say, what are you interested in? What's your commute? What are you doing? And they'll hopefully steer you to the right type of
They're
e-bike for
trying
you.
to channel the business, and that makes sense.
The
Good.
local retailers also tend to offer maintenance and warranties and things like that you might not do with an online retailer. And so we don't want to have a bunch of broken e-bikes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that was key for us, because what I found in processing these applications is that while the bike may have met safety standards, it wasn't necessarily a quality bike. And so we were supporting the purchase of a device that over time, as it breaks down, isn't something that can be repaired and maintained. It just turns into e-waste, basically.
So these are the ones that I see at the county line.
No, so,
No, they're not.
no, if you're referring to the devices.
I'm just trying to figure out what. I'm trying to see what I see abandoned at the end of the county, where the county.
These are like my e-bike, but if UVA give me $400, I'll buy it.
So that's the other program
That's
that's
this
completely separate.
That's not the.
Yeah. So, because those are very annoying.
Yeah, but we do use the revenues from those to pay for the voucher.
Okay, there you go. There's a win in there somewhere.
They're not annoying if you need to get around easily. They're pretty great if they can, take care of them and treat them well.
Yeah, it's just that, because I'm not in the city, I don't understand all these programs. All I know is I see all these abandoned bikes.
They happen right at the edge of the.
Because when they get it to the county, they stop.
It's the edge of the service zone, so they sort of hit that.
We've talked about this on board before.
It gives us a very good indication of where we do need to provide better transportation options in those corridors.
It does also happen within the city and outside of areas that are not allowed on grounds, i.e. the lawn and the JPJ and areas. So for football games, and so you'll see it, if you see a collection on Emmett Street, it's because there might be a concert and they're not allowed too close to the concert.
So it's not just Albemarle.
That's really what I'm trying to say.
Not to derail your
Trying to share.
conversation.
Well, it helps me understand a little bit better. Thank you, what I'm seeing. All right.
And then we plan to offer other rewards as well, as we continue to find our footing, but specifically highlighting, I have here as an example, like bike month, we can offer additional incentives, like if you choose to bike that month, you can get, another dollar, so that's what we did for you. So here's a glimpse at what the commute calendar looks like. So, this image on the left is the web-based, you log in, you go to this calendar, and this is a screenshot of mine, so you can see the red here, you see the two people in the car, so that is carpool. So me and my wife, we carpool daily, most days. And then, so each calendar day, you just select what mode you used. And then on the right, you can see under the pay period summary, how much I've earned for my pay period. So I have a bonus of $7 right here in this screenshot. And so then when my pay period ends, again, it's going to send that information to payroll, and then I'm going to see that on my paycheck.
I have a question about how carpooling is showing up. So you said you have to turn in your parking pass. If you're carpooling, but you're the one who owns the car, you give up the parking pass?
I see where you're going with this. So, so we have a few exceptions. So the carpool permit is one, because you still needed to park, show that you're valid to be in that specific lot. So what we do is we have the carpool participants, in order to qualify, you have to have at least 2 UVA employees in the vehicle, and then they split the cost of the permit. But they are allowed
It's
to.
a specific carpool.
Yes.
Gotcha. Cool.
And then here on the right is a screenshot. So there's an app version as well. You can download the Loom app from your mobile store. And yeah, similarly, you can see down there at the bottom, have that $7 in bonuses earned.
And we want to say, and you said it, but you cannot go back in time, so you're stuck within your payroll period, so you can't like ignore this for 3 months and all of a sudden go back and say, oh, I did this.
Yeah.
It closes out every pay.
Yeah, if you look at the screenshot, so the 11th through the 20th, that whiter background is my active pay period. So I can't log into the future, the 21st and beyond, and I can't go back past the 10th and backwards. Once it locks out, there's no edits.
This is a lesson learned from mileage reimbursement, right? Where people say, well, I've been driving my car to work for 6 months now. Can I ask, real quickly, for the purposes of the program, you are grading all of the alternative ways of getting there equally, because you've dealt with this as I know there's the 150 and the dollar, but you know, in theory, right, if you're dealing with it from the parking and transportation angle, as opposed to would HR and benefits want to contribute and maybe weight it towards bike and pedestrian, because maybe they're gonna experience lower healthcare costs on these people who are doing healthier things than van pooling or whatever. It's strictly parking relief right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
right now, though, you are on the right track, though. I hope to where we can take the program to. But as of right now, this P&T supported program, I didn't say specifically if they're going back to the incentive. So the $1.50 is for walk, bike, scooter, and transit. And then $1 is carpool and van pool. We did want to make a small distinction, because while you are alternative commuting using carpool, van pool, you still don't bring a vehicle on grounds, taking out the parking spot. In terms of features that the platform offers, big one is guaranteed ride home. So it's definitely something we wanted to have in the program as well, as that's one of the biggest hurdles that people, fears that they have giving up their permit and not having access to their car, is they need a way to get home if something happens. Needs to leave work early because you have a sick child, or you had to stay late and you missed the bus because you had to do mandatory overtime or something. Wherever the case is, you have a fallback if your alternative commute mode that you use to get to work can't get you home anymore. So 4 free rides home per year via Lyft. There's also carpool matching features, so you can, and that's what this screenshot here is. You can put in your commute details, where you're starting from, where you're trying to go to, start and stop time. And then it'll show you on the map and there, other employees that have also registered their interest in carpooling. And so then that app or the platform can connect the two, see if they can potentially can form a carpool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and, yeah, that was one of the, before we had this program, that was one of the most consistent questions that we got. Like, I'm interested in carpooling, I don't have anybody. Now we have this that we can push them to. And even if you don't find somebody right away, you can at least acknowledge your interest, so then others can find you.
And what's your usage of the guaranteed ride home? I'm just curious. Do you have a sense?
It's actually pretty low from, I think, what most people would assume it would be. You have a few people that, look, because we just had a rollover with our new fiscal year, so we reset the code of rides. And then you have a bunch of people that kind of use them right away. Not a bunch, you have a few that use them right away. But by and large, people don't, not that they don't take advantage of, but they just don't need them. Like, once you've established an alternative commute habit, most people just make it work. If they figure out a way to make it work. And so to more specifically answer your question, I think in July, we had around 20 or 22 rides claimed. Again, that's how I'm gonna get to later on, but out of like 800 or so participants. Then we also have a van pool finder. So similar to call for matching, you can search existing van pools that we sponsor. And then we have it set up so you can do payroll deduction to pay for your van pool. So there's additional savings there, but we as a department subsidize van pools participation, and then sign up in the app and everything. And then there's some gamification elements. So you can see here, you can earn like badges. So at this level, I was a level 3 carpooler. I was a friend toting ace. So that was my badge. But I recently leveled up to level 4.
And you're not gonna show us the picture of level 4?
No, it's all right. But you can earn badges. There's also leadership boards, so you can see how you stack up against your fellow employees. Some actually get like pretty competitive, like with their peers in the office, you know, who's biking the most miles, is a big one. So it just gives more people more reason to want to engage. So here's a July 2025 snapshot. So like I said, membership, we're up to almost 800. As for active members, so those who logged at least one trip or one commute in the month was 584. Saw a slight dip in the summertime, people are on vacation. And then the eligible population of 26,000. So 3.1% of right now the eligible population is participating in the program. A little over 8,000 commutes logged, and then that top pie chart, you can see the breakdown based on mode type. And we calculate this to be roughly 532 spaces saved for the month. So these employees engaging in alternative commuting freed up 530 spaces for us to use to put other people in, essentially.
And refresh my memory, your total parking spaces with the 2 new parking buildings is how, you have how many?
So we're at roughly 19, we're gonna add 2,300. So, I mean, yeah, 2,300, so a little over 21,000.
21,000 parking.
Across the academic and census.
With your new parking facilities that you're building, how much does it cost per space to build those?
Well, that's always an interesting question.
It is roughly $35,000 per parking space.
So you could do this for 1,000 months and it would still be a better deal to do it this way than to build another parking space.
That's what I keep telling my boss, yes.
And that's probably, you're talking just a regular parking deck. I mean, not even.
Well, right, and that is a structure, that the 2 garages will be under construction, so that the state. This is a lot of, so I think most of you know, in addition to being a transit guy, I'm the parking guy at UVA, so. All the other universities generally do it the same way UVA does, where there's a parking, and if they do a transportation, it's usually the same cost, so we're constantly trying to manage the whole system. In talking to them, thankfully, we are one of the leaders in terms of getting an understanding of the need to pay. so that we can do things like this, because in a lot of schools, there's pressure to, oh, we can't charge for parking, or we've gotta keep our parking rates low, or, and the reality is then there's no building to do these sorts of things, so. Um. So yeah, it's a balance, and UVA is not gonna build. Not a Cho airport, but, and I don't wanna pick on any airport or state center or hope. Our parking garages are not just precast concrete, they've got bricks, facades, and aesthetic treatments, we're gonna, so that adds to the cost.
The darn.
Yeah, the Darden garage is.
A little different.
Yes, so we are not gonna just do a standard precast or cast in place gray concrete parking structure, so our garages might be a little bit higher. But I would say the state average is probably between 27 and 30,000 per space, and we're at 32 to 33,000 per space.
Yeah, so I mean, big picture to Ben's point, like, if we are willing to spend that to build one parking space, is there a different approach where we can spend less money to just have someone not fill that parking space or the existing parking spaces?
What's the difference between carpool and van pool? Is it literally just the type of vehicle, or is it?
Just capacity.
Person?
Yeah, so well, we would distinguish it for our purposes, as to, the nature of the vehicle and ownership. So if it's a private vehicle, and we would just count that as a carpool. We use van pool specifically if we are sponsoring a vehicle that we procure from a third party, and you will use this vehicle for the ride.
Got it. So that's why they're broken out separately. This.
How many van pools are y'all?
So we currently only have two, both from Richmond.
I am interested in your commute modes and whether or not you have data that determines how many people have chosen alternative commute modes because of the program, or were they already taking transit or riding a bike or carpool?
Mhm.
Do you have data to talk about that?
So, it's not perfect, but one way we can measure that is by permits turned in. So of course, we knew there was already a bunch of people doing this, and of course, they're gonna sign up for the incentives. But I haven't looked at it recently, but I would estimate, roughly 70 permits have been turned in as a whole.
Okay.
And so a lot of the people that are already doing this are really front loaded when the program went live. They were really excited. The people that have the permits, they're the people that we need to win over.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
okay, yeah, here's the incentives. You know, this is how much you can earn. You gotta like get them over that hump.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Well, I was gonna ask the same question, but I wanna partly answer your question and say that taking Albemarle County as an example, there are people who've been riding Connect from Crozet for
Yeah.
years. But because of this program, and maybe not exclusively because of that, Crozet ridership on that Connect, on the various Connect routes is up 58%. And on 29 North, it's up over 9%. So there are ways in which this is moving new people into the system. Even though there were people who were already choosing commuting patterns.
So that's a win too.
But that whole changing behavior is really, it's a good win for you all related to parking. It's also a really good win on those that are working in climate and sustainability.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
So I'm curious how y'all actually originally landed on this approach, because I'm thinking, I have worked in organizations that gave free parking, or you could turn in your parking pass and you would get a transit subsidy, a flat transit subsidy that was pretty hefty. Or I've also worked in places that just, if you do not have a parking pass, then you are eligible to put in transit rebates, that directly. Both of those seem both much more substantial subsidies and also frankly a lot easier to administer than this system. I gather you get a lot more data with this system, but it seems like the actual, like the size of the subsidy and thus the push off of parking is smaller, and like the overhead seems, I mean, you have a whole software system that you had to buy for it. It seems pretty expensive.
I would need to get some clarification on, transit subsidies and how they're applied elsewhere. In terms of, like, I mean, if you would mind, like, in your experience, what are we talking?
Sure. So when I worked at the DOJ, I lived in Baltimore, and I had the DOJ bought my MARC ticket every day, which is actually quite expensive because I was in Baltimore. I was right at the edge of what the subsidy would even permit. But like every DOJ employee in the nation's capital had the option to just have the DOJ pay their transit fees. Similarly, when I worked at the Office of Naval Intelligence, if you did not use, if you did not have a parking pass at the Suitland Federal Center, then you got a flat like quarterly transit subsidy. I don't remember the value of it, but it was in the low hundreds.
I would venture the difference, Michael, is that they're both DC metro area. So there, and I'm not up to speed on this stuff, but it's air quality, and those were mandated programs under air quality attainment, where there were specific federal or state or regional incentives that gave a pot of money to employers to offer those things. We don't have those needs or programs here, so that's not available. And then the flip side, or the other piece of that, I was gonna ask who were the employers, but you answered it. I think it's partly due to the nature of it being a university, because universities are somewhat unique in that we have to fund parking as an auxiliary, which means that we have to charge people to park. Whereas if it was a private employer or a government, they use some other general funds or bonds or other sources of funding, but I don't get, as the director of parking at UVA, state funds for parking. It all comes from fees. And so therefore, we have a natural, we already are charging people, so people are already kind of accepted that, they're frustrated by it, but they're accepted it. And so then that creates this kind of market-based approach.
The other challenge in our region is all the transit service is free.
Right.
We don't have fares, so it'd be hard to incentivize there, except for Afton Express, which UVA does subsidize the fares for that, for its employees.
Peter Krebs had his hand up.
Oh, sure, Peter. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Peter
thank
Craig.
you. Thank you. And this isn't a question, but sort of an observation that, first of all, it's so great that our largest employer in the region is showing leadership this way. And I also love that you're making a business case to people, and you're approaching it from a business standpoint as well. Like, these people are saving UVA significantly, and they're getting a little piece of that saving. So that's great. Do you have sort of a notion or a calculus of what somebody is saving the university by taking this program, and what the split between the university and the commuter is on capturing that saving?
Sorry, can you repeat the second question? Second part of that?
Yeah. So do you have a notion of okay, so by choosing not to park, this person is saving UVA X amount. And of course, we're giving back some of that saving to the commuter. Do you have have you calculated that? Like, commuter X is saving UVA this much, UVA is keeping this piece of the saving, and we're passing back this percentage to the commuter.
No, so we haven't gotten that far yet in terms of analysis. It's mostly just been focused on the kind of what's more like directly in front of us. How many parking spaces are we saved in terms of how much it would cost to build those additional parking. So that's been our approach so far. But you make a good point in terms of we could look at that to better understand.
Yeah. And you're under no obligation at all, but that would be helpful for us to take to other businesses who are you know, maybe thinking of expanding their parking, and then we could go to them and say, well, maybe you don't need to expand it as much as you think if you enter this kind of partnership with your staff.
Absolutely, very good point.
I have another question, but I don't want to interrupt your flow if there's more, and I can save it for the end.
We are almost done. Yeah, so you've seen by now that that's how much we've spent in terms of incentives for July. And so divided by the number of spaces saved, that's how much we spent per space saved. Lessons learned in terms of this whole process up to this point. Really, it's novel growing experience for myself, having never done something like this. And so having better learned at UVA how to bring together all the stakeholders needed to get something of this size and scope kind of off the ground. And then over the year, kind of fine tuning the details to better meet our needs. You know, this is, to Peter's point, a business-like approach. We are an auxiliary. And so we need to make sure, you know, the spending that we are doing makes sense and it aligns with our objectives and what we're trying to accomplish. And then most recently has been the e-bike update. And so there's, yeah, a lot of lessons learned so far, and that helped us refine the program, but we still have a pretty long ways to go. I don't have like a slide here, but there are several initiatives kind of underway in order to grow the program. As far as like where we're to next, number one, we want to increase our staffing. So mostly it's been myself managing the program, but we are taking on some student interns to help us with more of the administrative side. To Mike's point, there is an administrative lift required to maintain the program, and then marketing. So up to this point, it's mostly been word of mouth and those that I'm kind of plugged into around the university. And a few newsletters have announced it, but we really haven't gone out and tried to like really raise awareness. Like I said, we've used this first year kind of as a soft launch. But we really, going into the fall, will make a big push in terms of now we're trying to get those permit holders. So we'll have the platform offers onboarding emails. This is what I'm really excited about. So whenever an employee starts, their first time their name comes across that roster file, it'll send them an email telling them all about their various commute options. Before it would be, as far as like onboarding at UVA, it's mostly up to the manager to tell you what your options are. And they tell them, oh, you need to buy a parking permit. That's the first thing they hear in terms of P&P. So now we can get to them first and say, you can buy a parking permit, but there are all these other options to take advantage of, and here's the program. So we would get to the point where they never got that permit, they never established that habit of driving to Browns. Maybe we can get them on the bus or on the bike from day one. And then in terms of technology that we're exploring to further incentivize people, we're looking for, what we sell right now, daily parking in addition to annual permits. So if you don't have an annual permit, you can buy daily parking just for the days you need via Park Mobile or parking portal. But we're looking for something that is a little more robust in helping us manage who can park where and giving that access. Because if I could paint a picture for you for a second, those familiar with grounds, you'll know we have a few close-in lots that are highly desirable, or we're talking, 100 spaces. Those that have the permits there were on the wait list for years, finally got the permit. Now they, you'd have to, rip it out of their hand. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
So they, no matter what the incentives are, it doesn't beat that close-in parking where you're right next to your building. So with some of the new technology that's coming out, though, we have the opportunity to help to enable them to maintain the ability to buy parking there, but on a daily basis, instead of having to have an annual permit. So we'll go to them, and once it's in place, hey, turn in your permit, we'll let you buy parking there when you need it. But on those other days when you're working remote, or, you know, you can, or you can, you know, the weather's nice and you're fine with riding your bike, then they have that option available to them. So not only will that get more people involved in the program, and in terms of, again, efficiency, using our space more effectively, it'll allow us to fit more cars, more people, into the space we do have. And then lastly, going to funding sustainability. And the steps, goes back to the point that you made, Mike, about, you know, seeking out other potential stakeholders that benefit from this directly or indirectly. So, other departments like UVA, medical center, HR, you know, this program has these benefits as well. We're helping employees out. There's the sustainability element. Maybe there's some other potential funding avenues that can help us continue to grow and expand the program. All right, and with that, I'm now done.
All right, thanks, thanks so much. Yeah, it's great to see UVA doing this. It's a lot of people in cars coming from outside of the city, and one of my main goals is to not make sure I would fill a parking lot for the surrounding counties. So it's great to try and get people out of their cars and see all the different ways that you're offering it. My first question is about the $400 e-bike rebate and the 100 commutes that have to be racked up before that becomes available. So that's on one side, but then you also said getting people on a bike from day one is something that you want to try and off. So how come there's that seems kind of hefty requirement before the e-bike rebate is available?
Well, one point of clarification I wanted to, you don't have to log 100 bike commutes. It can be any other qualifying commute modes. We'll get you the rebate. But at the same time, we do need to balance budget concerns. So we can't be like, okay, you just joined the program, here's $400. That would exhaust our budget pretty quickly. At least, you know, we're trying to take a cautious approach. We don't want to get ourselves into trouble. We've overcommitted. And then actually, you know, membership spikes and all those people are claiming the rebate. And then there's the other side. Did you just sign up to get the rebate? Now you can, you know, end your membership, buy a permit, and you got it for free $400 off the PET. So that's why we do have some work required from the user end to demonstrate commitment that you're engaging with the program to be the
I was thinking about the practical application of that, and like I live over on this side of town, and if I needed to get over to UVA for my job, it's like a 4.5 minute bike ride, but it's an hour-long walk, and the bus is kind of tough, and it would probably take 45 minutes. And so in order for me to earn that, that's pretty onerous. And so I'm wondering if to counteract people could get the thing and then go buy the permit, and maybe they have to wait 100 days before they can buy a permit again. And so you flip it, the waiting period to be more pro-bike from the start, and maybe that's something to consider.
I will say, it is a rebate, so you can purchase the bike from day one. You do have to have the cash on hand to do the purchase, but you join, you bought your bike, you bought it from one of the local shops. And then once you get your 100 commutes, you submit the application and get the money back.
Okay.
You can purchase it in advance.
That's helpful. I was thinking it was more like the cities
No.
get this thing. Okay. That is helpful. Thank you. And then for the new parking garages that are going up, is there bike parking available in those garages?
Yes, there is. We're super excited. So thanks to a lot of Scott's hard work, making sure it got in there. Both garages will have indoor bike covered parking. Fontaine we can fit, I think it's 36 racks, so like 72 bikes. There's also a fix-it station on site. Like I said, it's covered and secured, and so that's one of the biggest feedback points we get from regular bike riders: covered parking, secured parking. Especially if you're riding a more expensive e-bike, you have that extra layer of protection. Then North Grounds Garage next year, so we have covered indoor bike parking. We'll have designated e-bike charging racks as well. So you go to charge your bike there, And then we'll also have we haven't settled on the name yet, but there's a facility at the garage too, which will support bike programming. So we will have again, we're figuring out the details, but we'll offer clinics there, support students and employees doing their own bike repairs. We'll have stands and stations set up. It'll be kind of like the new hub for everything bike related. Community members can come there. Yeah, like I said, fix their own bikes, learn about bikes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Very cool. Open it up. Yes, Christine.
I have a question.
Yeah.
This is great. I love this, but I couldn't help but think about the region's rideshare program and the state's connecting VA app. And my thinking is that 530 some people that are no longer logging their rides in connecting VA because they're using this one. I don't think that's a problem as long as they're using an alternative route. I'm wondering if there's some like way that in registering folks for yours, you can also turn them on to the idea of registering for the states in order to get additional incentives that you all aren't offering, but they can get through connecting VA.
Yeah, we do have it on our platform, under the other resources. But yeah, we could do a better job like promoting it, say, hey, if you like getting rewards here, here's another thing, you're doing it, you're doing the things already, the hard part, the commuting, log it here too, you get additional guaranteed ride home, additional discounts. And savings.
Yeah.
I'm curious, sort of, if there are people who are already using their temporary parking passes that aren't using their commute program, like, what's sort of the daily average of people who are using a temporary parking pass on UVA? Is it about the same size as the number of people who are using this, or is it?
I think it's
like, are we missing some people?
I think it's a lot bigger. Because you're talking the other 17,000
Yeah, like, I guess I'm kind of wondering how many people are using an annual parking pass versus a temporary pass, and if there are already people that are using the temporary pass on a day-to-day basis, maybe they should be in this program and they just haven't caught on yet.
Right, and to Patrick's comment about the marketing and making people aware of it, for now, our method of feeling success is annual permits turned in, but I think ultimately, and that's not the only one, but that's an somewhat easy measure to say, okay, annual permits, and they've gone down. But ironically, as I was saying earlier, that's permit revenue for us, and we only really have two sources of revenue. It's parking revenue and it's the student fee for transportation. Now there's charters for transportation and there's an assortment of things related to parking, event parking, citation fees, but it really boils down to those two things. So it's a little bit, which is our internal struggle, which is we need to have enough revenue coming in to be able to afford things that we're looking at. What does that look like? What's that proper balance? There are institutions, most of them have, fixed rail transit systems as their regional transportation system, but there are institutions, I'm thinking of MIT, I think maybe Berkeley might do this too, where they've said they've scrapped annual permits, they've scrapped semester permits, and they basically say, pay for parking by the day, like across the board, because they want you to make the decision every day, what's my commute, how am I getting to work today? So that would, I would love to be able to do that, but that would kind of change our whole fiscal approach. And, I keep saying, like, I want our annual permits to go down, but I don't want to lose revenue. So, and we said it quickly, but really the key is the technology. Unfortunately, and I don't want to turn this into a big parking conversation, but when you're selling short-term parking, Park Mobile or apps like that are the easiest, but the problem with that is there's no restriction. You turn it on, anybody that sees it in the app can buy it. And the difference is with the system that we're looking at and hoping, so it's our own parking vendor, we just need them to kind of catch up to 2025 and what we want them to do for us. We want to be able to say, hey, you 50 people that have this really high, desire, but you're never going to give up your annual permit. What if we could still let you buy parking in that location because you earned it, you waited it out, but you don't use it every day. We're not gonna guarantee it to you every day. We're only gonna guarantee it to you on certain days. That's sort of, that would be our ideal blending. Without me getting fired.
I'm surprised that once you get it, it's yours.
Right,
Versus like you don't reapply every year
Right.
and you may not get
Right.
that same ideal
right,
location.
it's yours, right, and so there's an inherent desire at UVA, once you've gotten that close in, high dollar parking, to not give it up, even if you're not parking. So we need to.
And I remember those days, I was one of those people. I won that person, seriously, yeah. So Mike, did you have a question?
One comment, one quick plug, right? So I saw your one slide where it ended with this punchline about saving $25. I think there's a different calculation, which is much more compelling about your program, which says, if it cost me $35,000 to build a space and the useful life of a parking deck, depending on who you consult, is somewhere between 20 and 30 years, we divide that by somewhere between 270 and 360 months. Every month, you're saving between 145 and 90 some dollars per space that you change the behavior. That's really much more compelling, particularly when you multiply it by 500 some people. So I think there's a different way of storytelling. Think about the math, I don't know, but I really think that that would be interesting in case making for you all. The other is, like, I meet with, Scott sometimes, Allison and Kendall pretty regularly. We talk a lot about ridership, and we've got like 50,000 rides a year that are moving people almost exclusively to UVA on these commuter routes. So we talk a lot about what the routes are and whether we need to add to those. But I did, in preparation for a grant over this last week, we talked with them about, like, can you tell me where the people are who might ride? And there seemed to be some firewall there, right, about like, who do you gotta go to? And so I'm just wondering, from a vendor perspective, somebody who's already partnering with you in a big way, it'd be great, when you have the page and like telling people about all the things that are out there, carpool, vanpool, all that. How are you telling them about JAUNT and other providers? And how is that going to people who aren't already on a Crozet route or 29 North route or the Louisa route, so that we might understand, it would be good to add this route because there's enough people who are saying that they would come from Scottsville every day that we ought to add this thing. There's a route development question that's like, how can you be the needs assessment for this?
Yeah, no, I think that's, absolutely leveraging what data we do have. We have annual permit data. We know where these people are coming from. And we look at, so we can identify pockets of employees that live close together. From my perspective, it's been more like, okay, I see, there's like 15, 20 people here that live in this neighborhood. Maybe I can reach out to them and say, hey, you're interested in forming a van pool. And then we get them all on the same ride together. That's, taking that to the next level. There are these pockets along this route. Yeah, maybe there's a fixed route solution that we can partner with to meet that need. I like that idea.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it. If there's no, as your official timekeeper, I'm just keeping an eye on the time.
It's not a
Go right
question,
ahead.
so hopefully it won't generate tons of discussion, but just as a response to what you were just saying about people hanging on to their permits.
Oh, yeah.
That made me think of when I did a bike tour in Mexico City, and the tour guide was telling us about their smog problem, and there's 26 million people and it's in this ditch, and there's, they realize we have to get people out of their cars. What do we do? And they have a citywide color-coded permit on every car. So on Mondays, people with the red sticker can't drive. On Tuesdays, people with the green sticker can't drive. And I don't know exactly how to apply that to this situation, but something like that, where there's like a forced rotation, if not annually, daily, weekly, monthly, something like that. It would take some fine-grained detail to figure out how it would work better, but that could maybe be a slow, gentler way of breaking that grip a little bit while still giving people the space that they need. I don't know. just, that made me think of that, so just sharing what they do down there.
And moving on to any other burning questions, just so we can move on. It was a great presentation. Thank you. We'll have to have you back in another year or two.
Absolutely. Thank you. Time to- yeah, you can find everybody.
And congratulations on your 2 years. Yes, sir. All right, Regional Transit Authority Working Group update. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. So you all might recall the TJPDC applied on behalf of CARTA for a technical assistance grant from DRPT that we did receive. Included in your packet was the final scope of work for that study, which is called the Transit Service Prioritization and Implementation Feasibility Study. And that did go out to DRPT's bench and with the deadline of tomorrow. And so after tomorrow, the working group will begin reviewing proposals and we hope to have a project team selection by the next CARTA board meeting, which is September 25th. At their July meeting, CARTA also received a brief legislative update from David Blunt from the PDC about discussions that the working group has had with legislators, just to share background about CARTA and what CARTA is doing, what work the board is doing. And finally, related to that, one piece of material that was finalized after your packet went out was a CARTA one-pager, just about more background for CARTA and information on the work, information about the vision plan and other studies that have been done over the years related to transit. And so we printed copies of that and put that on the table next to the agendas, should anyone be interested in reviewing that.
And these would be great, this one pager, we really appreciate, it's actually 2 pages front and back, but anyway, we really appreciate David doing that for us, it's really great. And feel free to pick them up and use them as you need to. It's sort of everything about it all in one single piece of paper, so it's really good. Any, Taylor, is that,
Yeah, that was it.
any other questions for Taylor about? No? All right, then moving on to the RTP transition update. Christina, I think you're taking care of this one.
Yep, and this is quick, it's not gonna take a lot of time on the agenda. But most folks in this room know, because we are the RTP, that the RTP was established in 2017. It was a recommendation that came out of the transit coordination study. But it was always designed to be an interim body, to get developed the Regional Transit Authority. And so as the authority has been established, we're really starting to think about the role of the 2 bodies and sunsetting the RTP so that there are not 2 regional transit planning bodies here. But there's a memo in your packet that really talks to some of the successes of the RTP and it being so critical in getting us to where we are in the region. Better coordinated discussions, regional thinking around transit rather than just urban. Many studies, as you guys know, one led to the next, which made a recommendation of what we really need is a vision plan. So we know what the 20-year outlook is going to be, and the vision plan recommended. You need a governance study because if you're going to set up a board, you want to think about its governance before it's been enacted. And then, we had the great fortune of doing the Albemarle Transit Expansion Study, which resulted in the microtransit pilot, the microcat. So a lot of really great work has come out of this body, and there's a tendency to, we don't like to let things that are going really well go. But I'd like to say that our staff recommendation is the RTP does sunset come December 2025 of this year, and all of the work that's being done by the partnership gets continued at the authority, so that there are not 2 different bodies. So our staff recommendation, we brought the same recommendation to the CARTA board, is that with CARTA being enacted, they become the primary regional transit body for all of the coordination, and that this body ends in December, and that we would like to have a celebration of all the accomplishments in that December meeting.
And you're just telling folks, this is not something that we need motions on and votes on. This is just for information to let me know so that you can kind of plan.
Yes.
Are there any questions about this though?
You have
Mike?
2,
Yeah.
one's a
Absolutely.
question and one's a point. One is, I went back and read because I couldn't listen in on the part of the meeting and I couldn't tell what the action is that will constitute dissolution. And I was curious, have you gone back to figure out exactly how it was stood up? Was there a vote by council and board? Does council and board have to vote?
Right.
Cause I was trying to piece out, was the discussion like, can CARTA vote to dissolve RTP? No, they can't. So, there's a question there, I'm sure that you'll unpack. The other is, for me, John, representing outside of Charlottesville, Albemarle, which will at least be the initial focus of CARTA. I'm interested in having a discussion that I just want to elevate to the whole group and then talk with Taylor and Christine about, is there any additional scope needed or different way of thinking about RTAC now that RTP isn't having some of the discussions that it has, and if so, how should we be involved in that? I understand Jason's been going, but I'd like to have a discussion.
And if you want to address Mike's, you sort of, the first point that you were making.
Yeah, we'll go back and look at the initial, like, we haven't done that yet. We plan to do that before that December meeting. So if it requires a formal action,
Yeah.
it would have to go before your bodies, but we haven't done that research
Yeah.
yet.
And I will say, and you're sort of talking about this, I think, as well. I think one of the really big benefits of this body, the Regional Transit Partnership, was getting all the providers together. And for me, one of the most, I won't say interesting, but valuable parts of the agenda were the report out. And people hearing what other providers were doing. And that has been a huge, I think, benefit, because I've seen a lot of work coming out of those report outs and sharing of information. And I'm a little concerned that we're going to lose that piece. So I'm just going to declare that you all have to keep coming back once a month to do a report out at the table. But I'm just not sure how to get that in. I do think that was a valuable piece of our conversation. Because I learned a lot about what was going on. I'm not as critical as Scott learning what Mike was doing and Mike learning what Jamie was doing. There's a real value in being around the table and talking. And I fear we're gonna miss that some, and I'm not sure how to reinvent that. And I just look at Christine as that nugget, maybe, and Ben, that nugget, and
It definitely was an important part of the
yeah,
discussion we've been having in the past few years, so.
Yeah, and it's definitely something we've talked about at the part of working group.
yes.
Is
So
making
just
sure we don't lose that connection.
yeah, to say to everybody, we really want to make sure that we don't lose that, because some really good things have come out of just these roundtables. And I won't press that any further.
And Mike, a further response to your other statement is the other side of that, right? Is not only the disillusion of the RTP, but currently the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County give the TJPDC funding to staff the RTP. And so getting into an MOU or an agreement that we would staff the CARTA is just the other side of that, is making sure that stand up is the same as like whatever the dissolution of the RTP process.
Yeah.
We've talked about that as well.
Yeah, well, I always said that when we started the RTP, we had to show the community and the university and the players that we could play in the same sandbox. And I think we have. It's all good. All right, with that, I was talking about the provider updates, and I guess that's where we're going next. So Jamie, Albemarle County Public Schools.
Sure. Well, we started school August 13th, which was a week early for us, but it aligns with the city now. So it was a little bit more chaos for us since we weren't used to starting early, but things are starting to smooth out. We've lost a few people to various reasons the past couple of weeks, or a bit short staffed. We have 8 open routes right now. Some exciting things that are happening is we partnered with Albemarle County Police Department and ultimate to add some school bus stop arm cameras on 4 of our buses. And we'll monitor staffing and how that's going. We could go up to 10 by the end of the school year and see how it goes. And then the police department also expanded speed zone. So we already have one by Albemarle High School on Hydraulic, and they added one out by Western Henley and Brownsville out there on 250. So we're just happy to have any partnership that helps keep students safe. So that was exciting. Looking ahead, last time I was here, I talked about we implemented a new routing software, so we're still kind of working through that. Next school year, there's a parent application that comes with that where families will be able to see where the bus is, but we're gonna kind of pilot that in the spring, and then we'll see where that goes next year. And then you've probably seen around the schools, there's construction on Center 2 next to Albemarle High School. And then Mountain View Upper Elementary is being built this year. They had the topping on the ceremony today. And so, we'll make some adjustments next year for that, but I think that's the informational. I think that's about it. For now.
What's going on? Any questions? It'll be interesting to see because the data coming from the school safety, the speed, the safety zones and the speed zones, the data has been, like, yeah, pretty shocking to be kind of honest with you. And it certainly has, as that year has gone by, the culture of driving in that area has changed, which is what we really wanted to happen. People are driving slower through the area, even when their speed zones are not in effect, which is great.
And we have had a lot more students walking school in that area. Students from like blocks of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was needed.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, I'm thinking what the data shows from Western.
Yeah.
Might be an interesting, at some point, we could just share it, I don't think it has to be an agenda item, but maybe to share that data. With this group, just, or we can easily do that, just in there's, for folks to see. And only I do have one question, so when you talk about the school buses, you're talking about the arms that go out.
The stop arm.
The stop.
But the cameras are actually on the side of it. They are on the side.
But they're deployed, I guess, when the stop arm goes out, so you can see people that are passing. And,
Yeah.
and then, so if you pass at that point, you're fine.
Yeah, and the partnership is with the police department, so their staff actually reviews. That's what we do. Which is why it gets stalled out for a while, just because of the staffing. But now we're trying it out on 4, and we're gonna see how it goes and how much management, and all of that. You could go up to it.
So as with the speed zone cameras, the fines, which go back into programs to impact driving safety and safety around cars and vehicles and everything, that money goes back to the school division from your funds for the same thing for impacting school safety. I'm just curious.
Yes.
Because I get those questions.
I'm not sure if we've decided how the money is gonna be spent yet. I'm looking at it a little bit, but yeah, it is gonna come back. Some of it's gonna go back.
Because we get those questions from the public. And I will say that I have heard from the police that there is chatter right now in the General Assembly about taking that money away from the schools and speed zones because the state wants it. And that's what happened with our lottery money, if you remember.
Yeah,
They
and
gave
there,
it to us and then they took it back.
and that's why I kind of hesitated, because we, I've got word it's supposed to go back to like a literacy fund. So we're still,
And the literacy fund will lose it eventually.
Yes.
Because that's what happened with the lottery money. Yeah, I'm just saying.
yeah,
And
but
it's-
it's still, we still hoping we can.
Yeah. But it's good to know with the General Assembly coming up, to be aware of some of these so that we can maybe fight for for what we need. Any questions for Jamie? Good luck on the school year. Yeah, absolutely. Scott, you're next.
Well, similarly, we're back. Students are here. This is our first week of full academic service since May. So, UTS is operating on all of our routes. I might have given this update at the previous meeting, but we added one bus to one of our fixed routes, service the Silver Route, which would go from, or does go from JPJ through Central Grounds and Medical Center. So, those cute little E-Jest buses are actually, we are using them instead of one big transit bus, we're using 2 of them. So far, so good. It's been really nice. So we finished doing all of that remote parking, which I think I reported on the last time for our orthopedic center. So that was kind of like a charter service, but this is actually using our mini electric buses on a route in service. And I rode it myself on Monday with 18 people, which is about its max capacity. It was the 8 o'clock run. And people were happy. It was good. So that was the one I was gonna say, is that those are actually in service. And then corollary to that, we did receive 3 of our 4 GLA full-size battery electric buses. They're in our yard. We are waiting for the fourth one. It's still in California because we're waiting on all four to be here to do the next round of things. We need, the cameras connected, radios installed, and hopefully we'll by then have agreed upon what wrap to put on them. But we would hope to get them actually in service before this semester ends. I don't want to overpromise, but we're hoping to get that. I skipped the training and the safety piece too, but those are all elements that we need to offer. I think those are the two biggest operational updates for UTS. Nothing else. I mean, the students being back means on-demand services are operating, so the full tilt, if you will.
Any questions for Scott?
I know you've shared this previously, I just can't remember. When do you expect the 2 parking garages to be fully complete?
So the one at Fontaine, is this close. They're hoping to get the occupancy permit this week.
Okay.
I don't know that that'll happen or not. We intend to open it as soon as practicable after that. And then I think I might have explained to this group before that when that opens, that we're gonna initiate a new transit line. That will actually be later, more in October, because the roadway infrastructure at the research park needs to be completed. So there's a roundabout there, but we've been parking cars in it all for the last year. And we need to move those cars out. We need to realign the road, and we need to do some other infrastructure work. So hopefully we will start that new, we're calling it the Purple Line, connecting Fontaine Research Park to the medical center, probably by the end of October. And so the second garage, if that was the real question, I don't know, the question was about the Purple Line and the second garage. The second garage at North Grounds is basically a year behind, on purpose. It was a year scheduled to be behind, so it should open about this time next year.
Any other questions for Scott? I have a quick one. Are you doing a contest for the bus wrapping? I haven't heard of any of that. Because certainly Cat does that, you know, I mean, there's Cat's been in the.
That was one option. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
That was one option that was discussed out of frustration with not giving to an agreement. But yes, we'll, I don't, the answer is no, but that was considered.
Just not.
Yes.
And one other question, so the small buses that you now have used, I call them small ones, that you use, Old Abbey Road? Those are the ones that you.
You saw them on Old Abbey.
Yes, I'm asking if they are on Old Abbey Road or being used on Old Abbey Road.
No.
No,
If you saw them in Old Ivy, that was when we were doing our, we had to offsite about 75 people from the old Commonwealth
Right,
Court parking
right.
area for UVA orthopedics. We were basically driving them from the top of the hill over to the parking deck that we have on the other side. And since you can't walk there, that wasn't really an option. So that ended August 1st when that new parking up there opened. So
but it would be important for eventually to get buses over there with those two railroad crossings.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that needs small
yeah,
buses, so,
yes,
especially when breaks start,
yes.
fills up.
Yes, we will be looking at what will be coming next with our service expansion, but.
I'm hanging my hat on those small buses that would go and be able to go into that railroad track or those railroads.
They did it all summer, very,
Yeah,
very,
yes,
and they
and-
need to turn and
Yeah,
everything.
I just don't want it to go away, but okay. All right, any other questions for something? We're good? Garland Williams Cat in the City of Charlottesville.
Do you want me to tackle?
I was
any
gonna
of it?
say, I'm looking at.
Oh, you said something, okay.
For pupil, the battery electric school bus pilot program will officially start September 26th. 2025, they already broke ground there in Dominion as far as, we already have the, transformer in, on hold for Charlottesville area transit. The challenge is getting the charging station because those charging stations are different. They're supposed to release back to the, grid. So, we're waiting on the delivery of those and then we should have the, everything up and running. He said by January 2026. For the, and we're getting the 2 buses in September. And then on the transit side for the battery electric bus program, the opposite of the charging station and the transformer. We have the charging station is not that difficult to get, but the transformer, we're waiting on that. We don't have a timeline for that as yet. The NEPA program the NEPA that we just did, we're at 95% completion. And, all the steps are being done. They're compiling the report so we can turn that over to DRPT and FTA, by November. So we're on track with the NEPA for the facility. The CATS triennial, the FTA triennial review was completed last week, and we made it through with flying colors. We had 3 minor, items noted, no major findings. The final report will be issued at the end of September. And as far as the artwork that we were talking about, the art bus rack should be on the buses the week of September 22nd.
So the contest has been won.
Yeah.
All right, I don't think I've seen the rap, but anyway, it's on first.
Oh,
Yeah,
Pretty key.
yeah,
It's
it
pretty
is.
cute.
I guess I could go to the CAT website and see it.
I know they still have it.
I know,
Probably, yeah.
it is still, I'm not sure, but I could have, Alex post it.
But that contest is over, so that's good.
Yes.
And could I ask who won the contest? Do you know? Is someone from?
It is supposed to.
It is on, yeah, just kind of fun to know.
Yeah.
I think there's a fun, ventures. All right, any questions about CAT or, Charlottesville Transit School System? No? All right, Mike, you're up, you're next.
Well, since we were here last, we have a new fiscal year, and we had some favorable funding from the Commonwealth Transportation Board that's gonna allow us to add over $3 million to the JAUNT budget without asking for any local dollars, so saving about $1.1 million in local money because of the favorable match rates, which is great news.
That's great.
As a sub-recipient, the CAT, we participated in some fashion in that audit, but also in 6 other audits over the course of the summer.
Lucky
And
you.
our final audit, that's what happens when you do like 8 different things. We start our FY25 year-end audit with Robinson Pharmacox on Tuesday. So welcome back from your holiday, which is fun. We're getting ready to experience a little turnover on our board. Council's made a couple of new appointments, so the city will have some new membership. Some folks moving out of the area, some just fresh applications to the council. So we'll be onboarding some new folks. Like some other folks, I was in Roanoke for a good part of last week for CTAV. Learned about some really interesting strategy financially that allows federal match with other federal programs, and so calling for less local and state dollars. So we're going to be exploring that with the consultant who's presenting to folks there. We saw some really interesting new technology that we'll certainly talk with both CAT and UTS about, and then talk about some ideas about how we could share a purpose about training staff in a different, more collaborative way than each discrete agency doing it, which I think will be, I hope will be powerful at some point. Tomorrow we'll be submitting a national RTAP grant that Katie alerted us to. The intent of that particular request is we have the data that tells us that it would be very productive and sensible to extend the 29 North Connect routes and add to them and not stop at Hollymead, but go all the way to Green County. And I have support letters from Katie, Christine, and CAA and UTS. So fingers crossed. And We're talking about that in a way where if we're successful, we continue the service through a triple award, and if not, then maybe we would apply for that in the 27 application anyway. So more to come on that. For Albemarle folks, our 29 North route is starting to ramp up, ridership wise in a way where we're thinking about whether we need an additional line already. And so this may add some resources that would help with the flexibility, on that front. A couple of weeks ago at our board meeting, presented to the board, the completed communications, marketing and design strategy, that we've been talking about. It had some, interesting takeaways for us about the work we can do in that area. And I have asked some folks, to be a part of a group that's gonna take us through the next 6 months, in implementing the plan. And as part of that process, and separate from that process, we've also recently completed a survey, of local people who are riders and people who aren't, and I would say for that type of survey, pretty good response, almost 800 people, and so I'd be happy to share takeaways from that at some point, with you all. Certainly we'll be bringing those to the board. They've seen the COM strategy, but not the survey results really, yet, except in a really snapshot kind of nugget.
And I'm looking at Taylor, can we just make a note for an agenda item, because that would be interesting, I think, to this group of interest.
And then last thing I would close with is just to say that, while I have yet to arrive at the date that this thing happened, sometime in the month of September in 1975, the first 6 people rode on a jaunt bus, or van, and so we will be talking about, over this next year, what it means to be in our 50th year, so more to come on that.
I was wondering what that thing was gonna be, but. Yeah, absolutely. All right, Katie from DRPT. Oh, were there any questions for Mike? No? No? All right, Katie.
Yeah, so, right now, we, at the, urging of the current administration at the state level, we're doing a really big evaluation of our merit system, so that's our capital and operating funding. I would recommend, if you're interested, they have all the recorded meeting from the TISDAC meeting yesterday. That walks through all of the updates and what those impacts would be. So the operating assistance, the major change on the most simplified level is it's moving away from it being based on statewide trends and to have it be purely performance-based in that portion of the formula. So there would still be a sizing, revenue metric, but just on the performance-based side, you'd be moving away from trends to like pure performance data. They've run a bunch of different scenarios as to what they're looking at. Part of the intention of doing this is to have it be more metric focused, and have it be simplified and have better predictability year after year. That's something we get a lot, is it's our formula is very complicated and it's hard for agencies to know what they're going to expect to get. So that's one of the intentions of this formula, the shift. It is there's an overall shift to it benefiting rural agencies, but specifically JAUNT is called out as not being one of those benefits. And so, yeah, it is, I mean, I would really recommend taking a look at it. I know, yeah, Mike and I think Garland was on yesterday. I'm not sure what kind of impact we'll be able to have in what decisions are being made, but his staff is being kind of informed and in the loop. The CTV will take action in December, but this would be impacting fiscal year 28. So there's also some uncertainty if the administration then changes in the next year, what that would then mean for this process and how it takes effect. But just important to have kind of on everyone's radar. Also have some changes to the capital program. It expands and differentiates the state of good repair projects, and then removing some incentive scoring for innovation and low and no emission vehicles, and has more of an emphasis on good grants management.
But those are kind of smaller, the operating is kind of the major shift. And again, it's definitely pretty complicated, so I would definitely recommend looking through the slides and watching the recording of the meeting from yesterday.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
A state employee can't.
Yes.
Yeah. So, really, if you look at any time this has happened, in either this part of government or in other sectors, this is a process that typically happens over a 12 to 18-month arc. And because of the end of this administration, they're trying to accomplish it in a 6-month arc. And so the process is, whether John is a winner or loser in that process, it is not an optimal process for a lot of reasons. And so I don't know that you're gonna influence the outcome, but I think it's worth talking about whether there's anything to talk about with legislators.
Interesting, okay.
And then.
Ben had a question.
I think my brain froze up when you were talking about the changes to the operating funding. You said that there were any changes to the capital funding? as well?
Yeah, so there are some, it's differentiating the state of good repair categories, it's breaking it out into like ones that have asset dates and then ones without asset dates. And then it's changing incentive scoring, so it's taking out any innovation and like low and no emission incentive scoring and just moves to good grants management, incentive scores, which are like, how quickly are you closing out projects, kind of standard.
But it's really focused on, say, good repair and not the minor and major.
The minor and major are still a component, it's just putting different parameters, I would say, around state of good repair. But again, I would recommend going to the slides, it's, they come walk through all of it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I would too. The other thing that's the big one going on, that again, Mike has been really involved with, which has been great, is the 5311 ongoing shortfall analysis. So it's with the rural funding, federal funding, due to, census realignments in the state, and then also running out of the COVID funding. We're gonna be kind of bumping up against having a shortage based on our projections for 11 for rural funding. We're kind of in the process where we're coming up with revenue strategies, and different strategies that how we might be able to structure our programs to help kind of fill some of those gaps. Some of the ones that are being suggested are prioritizing operating over capital in terms of where we prioritize the federal funding. We're also looking to change how much, currently we have a 68% cap on how much state funding we can put on projects. So we're looking to increase that amount, but that would take CTV action so that we can kind of make up some of these differences with state funding. And then there's a way that we would look at changing how we allocate 5311 operating funding. It's also, we're considering an increase in local match. We're considering 10% or 20% for capital. Currently it's at 4%, which is really, so there's, a shift that might happen there. There's also the opportunity to leverage special state programs. There might be changes to what is eligible for capital and operating. And then we're looking at changing the useful life of vehicles. The impact of that, I think, is kind of variable. A lot of agencies are already running their vehicles beyond their useful life. And so they're also looking at really trying to prioritize cooperative procurements that have cost savings for everyone. But okay.
So back to the.
Yeah, bad news bears over here today. There's a lot of that.
Local match, that's very concerning. So I knew that we were gonna have to have more skin in it. I had not heard what the increase would be, so we're talking about going from about 4% to 8 to 10.
There's a scenario that they're looking at 10%, at 20%, and again, we're still definitely in the kind of strategy production phase. Mike can actually probably speak more to it, because it was a roundtable at CTAP specifically to talk about this. But yeah.
Give us the bad news, Mike.
Well, I mean, it's mixed, right? First of all, the kind of plateau and concern, which originally was supposed to impact 27.
Right.
DRPT is definitely projected that they think we're gonna get past 27 without a big change. And so this is a 28 change. That's one thing.
But that's a.
Two is, they've got over $7.5 million in potential grant awards that would move this out even further in years. Three is, there is something that a lot of states do that the Virginia doesn't about inner city bus routes where the governor can sign off saying, hey, needs are met. That would deploy $3 million that goes to Virginia Breeze today back into 5311. Possibility, no guarantees.
But that leaves Virginia Breeze.
But there's other ways to fund Virginia
Oh, okay.
Breeze, right? And so the question is, how do you make the funding streams that have more availability and access and flexibility stretch further, right? I think that, you know, looking specifically at JAUNT is the one that's been funded out of this program. But while we've got this super favorable match rate now, either 10 or 20% would be better match rate than the 30-some% that's been paid for the last 5 years because of the cure letter coming out of that arm in 2020, in 2021. So, we're actually better equipped for that than most other localities. And it's already preserving 68% of capital match. There was a lot of people who misinterpreted that we're going from 4% to 100%, right? Like, you know, I would say as somebody who's on the state work group, there was no peer state that had anything that was 4% binding, not even close, right? So to be outside of double digits is not real world thinking.
So we were an outlier.
Totally.
Okay.
A complete outlier in that percentage.
Yeah.
And so that does have to shorten. You know, the useful life stuff, double-edged sword, right? Like, you know, you might get a little bit more maintenance. Some of the standards are too low, but not everybody releases the equipment as quickly. So I'll just give you the JAUNT example that I gave to the group, which is by regulation, I could ask for new buses if they're 4 years old and or have driven 100,000 miles. Well, on average, if I look at the last decade of replacements, they are on average 7.5 years old and have 163,000 miles. So nobody was, and there's other people stretching them further than us even. So nobody's like turning them in that day, you know, 4 years or 100,000 miles. So let's get through it. This doesn't work that way. So it's hard to say whether you'd save anything really. I think that there's been a lot of good talk about different ways to share, defray, collaborate, to take away from costs, that will be really productive. But there's going to be some decisions that will be out of our control, and I think the other thing that we should keep thinking about is, while there's been a lot of harm in federally funded programs since January, not really in transit and transportation, right? And so you have to just, you know, be thoughtful, prudent about how heavily you invest right now in those areas, because you can't say whether that's we're waiting for that to happen, or if it's gonna remain unharmed. But I think that DRPT has done a great job of bringing people in to have meaningful conversation. And so I feel like, unlike the TISDAC process, this is an example of really thinking ahead, you know, a full 2 years before the impact about how to really involve everybody in the decision.
And with that, we thank you. That's great. That was helpful, Mike. Thank you. Anybody have any questions about it? We did like the form. We liked the form. That was good.
That's reason.
And I think that came out of my understanding, and it was a little bit pre my time at URBT, that was really with all of the COVID funding, some of those decisions were made, and also as that money runs out, which is kind of a reevaluating their statement.
All right, no other questions then? Given that, I don't have any other business. You know, happy if anybody else does, we can bring it up now or forever hold it loose. least for now. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting to October the 23rd, 2025 at the Water Street Center. So have a lovely Labor Day holiday. Everybody be safe and have a great time. The weather's supposed to be great.
Hey.